All right. Good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday and welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared and it is December 22nd, 2021. So, wanted to take our midweek session and take a look back at what we marked for the SPX expected move on the week. We've had a couple of volatile sessions, lots of gaps forming in the market as we remain somewhat trapped within this trading range. And as we saw on the prior session, the lows of this trading range are continuing to provide a rough area of support for the market as we teeter lower on that dominant uptrend that we have set. Now, the SPX, as we have marked from the beginning of the week, is pricing in approximately a 79-point expected move for the week. And as of Tuesday's session, the low end of that expected move has been met. So, as always, we use this as a gauge to get a sense of the type of volatility range for the market moving into a week. And as the market gets into these zones, whether we expand, breach, and come back in, or even in this case, just somewhat test this area, this often gives us a sense of what to expect for the next session. Usually, if we breach and return, we often want to consider a possible move back into the opening weekly price for the SPX, basically a move back to neutral. And if we breach and hold, that changes the dynamic of the market. You want to be thinking more expansion of volatility, a little bit more hedging activity in certain underlyings. And then, of course, if we continue that expansion, obviously the more detrimental it can be to option income sellers or just option traders in general. So now that we have returned back to essentially our opening prices from the beginning of the week, the question is now, are we going to see the market go a bit bullish for the remainder of this week? That, of course, would be seen in the form of our sort of buy-up candle, our weekly dominant uptrend. This is, of course, that sort of 20 period on the weekly, continuing to hold as a key support. And amidst the daily trading range, if this low continues to be our guidepost, then obviously looking at least towards the upper end of this range, if not a new all-time high in the next couple of sessions. So as we look across the market, we say, what is carrying this market forward? Yesterday was a bit of a correlated buy-up across multiple sectors. We obviously had tech back in play, also defending its lower range supports, bouncing in a very similar manner to the SPX. We had financials finally coming off of a key low. This is that 200 period moving average. And of course, the gap and go sort of structure of this market as we recovered from that area. Discretionaries, the likes of Tesla, which we'll discuss very briefly, but a lot of key underlyings going quite bullish on yesterday's session. This, of course, was threatening a bit of a breakdown as we see our channel structure starting to fail. But ultimately, this extreme reversal has put us back into our sort of dominant channel structure. And we could easily see something like a channel transition moving forward if the market remains bullish. And then last but not least, our healthcare sector pulling back from recent all-time highs, not necessarily carrying the market forward on yesterday's session, but holding and ultimately getting bought up into the afternoon. One of our key underlyings, the likes of Pfizer, seeing that sort of buying pressure in the afternoon session as we pulled back into an intraday area of support. That's, of course, going to be marked by this area here, which was a swing low for a continuation of the uptrend. So markets as a whole, especially some of our larger market cap names, are continuing to align bullish at the same time. And what this does is it provides a bit of a correlated move intraday, of which you ultimately, as a trend trader, want to be involved in. And there are multiple ways to sort of see this structure intraday as it's forming. One thing I like to do is simply to watch things like heat maps when it comes to something like a heat map of the sectors yesterday. You can see that most of the market was quite bullish. We have our three dominant sectors. These are going to be market cap leaders, and it's a reason why we focus on them so heavily. The likes of discretionary, financials, and tech. But to a lesser degree, healthcare, staples, and utilities, the defensive sectors, pulled back slightly, but held above some of the gains that they've recently seen. So they haven't necessarily collapsed. And as they are pulling back, we'll be looking for new buying opportunities, especially near key support zones. XLU already seeing some of that buying activity off of the 20. This is sort of your first line in the sand for a possible trending market. Now, with that correlation comes a bit of risk. And we've seen markets do this multiple times while in this trading range. But the risk to the market is that this correlation can cut both ways. Essentially, if we see buying pressure like we saw yesterday, essentially it can be a bit of a short squeeze. Obviously, poorly positioned shorts on yesterday's session had to exit the market. They may have seen a possible breakdown. They likely had to cover. But additionally, as we get these rallies, we're noting things like declining volume. As the recovery happens, the declining volume and the exhaustion of bulls basically chasing that bounce momentum will lead to the eventual retest of upper resistance zones and even mid-level resistances like value or like VPOC in regards to volume profile. So when the market is moving through this area, which has a lot of established price activity, we can be looking for those early signs of another attempted rollover of the market. We've seen multiple before. It's worth considering that scenario for the remainder of this week. Now, what that would look like is, once again, an intraday session where that correlative effect, where all sectors are sort of pressing in the same direction, takes hold of the market. And that eventually would cause another down swipe from a relative high. As the market sort of bounces off its lows, we're targeting mid-range, things like VPOC, but we're looking to get to that upper resistance and ultimately break out bullish if we want to continue this dominant uptrend that the market has seen. Another thing this can also do is give us a sense of what's to come if this range breaks out in either direction. When you think about all of the trading activity in the past couple of weeks, it has been concentrated inside of this trading range. Essentially, the market has gone little to nowhere from high to lows and lows to highs, but outside of traders who are taking profits on trading setups, the market as a whole is starting to condense this area and build up risk or build up energy for larger movements in the future. That's often where we see things like range breakouts having plenty of continuation, because ultimately one side of this range is going to be correct, the bulls or the bears. The opposite side will eventually have to stop out depending on their risk parameters. And that fuel is what drives range breakouts to upper targets, Fibonacci extensions, doublings of the range. And then, of course, on our breakdowns, we have some key levels to target to the downside as we've been in a bullish market this entire year. Now, also wanted to shift into another interesting setup from 2 days prior. We were looking at the IWM coming back into a key support zone. This was a trade idea, getting this market back into roughly the value zone of about 222. And so far, so good. This market did rally quite strongly yesterday. This was, in fact, our strongest overall strongest overall index for yesterday's session. But once again, just noting that this high to low, low to high strategy continues to work for the time being until it doesn't. So we're certainly looking for major breaches of either the top side or the downside of these ranges. And yesterday was a great example of how the market was aligned bullish in multiple ways. You had key sectors all hitting support zones around the same time. That recovery bounce sort of fueling itself to the upside. And then even more oversold markets like the Russell 2000 seeing that follow through off of a major support. Now, some underlyings that were in play yesterday. Just wanted to comment on one that I was focused on and probably talk a little bit about some psychological challenges I've been having. I think that affects a lot of traders throughout multiple sessions as a trading journey. But Tesla coming into its previous all-time high supports, seeing a recovery rally and a strong bounce. And as we see on the pre-market session, we're getting plenty of follow through in the form of short covers, along with people sort of chasing this momentum, as it does appear that the stock has bottomed for the time being. We also got some news that Elon Musk has completed his sell in regards to selling off portions of his shares. That, of course, can sort of fuel the perception of the market and certainly drive some additional retail demand. But I wanted to comment a little bit on Tesla's setup. This is one that I've been looking forward to playing for quite a while. But ultimately, yesterday, I missed this entry. And I wanted to talk about the idea of precision versus expectation. Whenever Tesla was selling yesterday into this key support zone, I had our previous swing high on the uptrend back in 2020 marked off on my chart. Just to clarify for those who are interested, this zone here, take off our study so we can see the ranges. I've marked off a specific candle high, one that I believe is more powerful than the previous all-time high. You'll note that Tesla did make new all-time highs during this session, but what's more important to me is that the market was able to close above our previous swing high. The reason for that is that closure allows the market to advertise the idea of accepting the previous range and willing to move higher, albeit, of course, you need continuation. That closure is sort of your first signal that the market is ready to advance even further. But during this time, Tesla did not do that. We saw a secondary attempt on the following session. The close occurred below the previous swing high. And then, of course, our final rejection here as we tried to move higher, rejected off the open, collapsed back into the range. And then, of course, the rest is history. Tesla fell approximately 40% from this level. So when marking this level as an intraday trader, I'm looking for a bit of precision. I'm looking for that area to be tested. And ultimately, I want that actual price to be achieved. But noting yesterday's volatility, we saw Tesla sell into this area, but we didn't quite necessarily get to that price. We actually stalled about $1 before, and the market eventually just started to recover from this price. People were anticipating this move, bidding the market a bit higher, and the market simply didn't need to touch 885. We got close enough. So intraday trading yesterday, I was watching this. I was looking for that test, and I was going to use that test candle, whatever it happened to be, to establish my risk, to basically use the low end of whatever print was made and set up a reversal trade, an intraday reversal trade in this scenario. That, of course, did not happen. I became hesitant to enter into this market, and the market moved away from this price without me. So I got to experience a bit of a FOMO and a ROMO, if you're familiar with the BBT vernacular. Now, overall, when I look at this entry point and my risk management, I think a lot of people experience this in multiple sessions, multiple trade scenarios. They often want to see sort of that perfect setup. They want to see a certain price achieved. At that price, they're looking to enter. They're looking to make their stop tight, well-defined, and ultimately willing to scale out on strong conviction, strength, or weakness regarding on the setup. But to a lesser degree, when we talk about the size of this level, the fact that it is a weekly high, the fact that it's the previous all-time high range, when you're an intraday trader and the volatility of this particular stock, why do you need that type of precision? The market gets close enough and the market is showing you intraday strength in the form of a higher low, the form of a move away from this area, people bidding into that price, pushing it higher. It's worth considering maybe joining some of that, still defining your risk for a new low. The market does breach lower, but ultimately giving it an attempt. It can be on smaller size, it can be on similar size but wider stop, et cetera, et cetera. And a lesson from yesterday, this is true of a few trades that I took, is that I was trading a bit fearful of the market. One thing I've noticed doing this particular show for everybody is I have a view of the market that tries to take in a lot of different factors. I have a bullish case, I have a bearish case, I have a neutral case, I have risk parameters, I have opportunistic setups. And when you start to put all that information up front, when you speak about it, it can give you a bit of analysis paralysis whenever you're looking at specific trade setups, especially when you're coming into such a precise area of interest. If the market did break lower, if Tesla simply came back lower, this could have been a much deeper correction, but ultimately it didn't happen. But all in all, the summary of that sort of review from yesterday's trading is Tesla offered this setup once. You know, this pullback doesn't have to happen again. This could be the one and only time Tesla touches this price range on this particular structure. You know, from high to low, we're pulling back approximately 30 to 35%. And the upside potential, the missed opportunity, the fact that ultimately I wasn't willing to step in intraday, I wasn't willing to step in as a swing, this can form a lot of regret or a lot of FOMO, especially if you start chasing the price. And it's a note for traders throughout this entire period. I think a lot of us as traders see some of the trading ranges that the market has formed, and we're looking for confirmation. But the idea behind this range is that if the confirmation comes, you may have already missed out on the risk to reward parameters to make the trade successful to begin with. So for example, in the SPY, if we look at the lows to highs, it can be quite challenging to enter the SPY mid-range, because if we lose 450, that of course is a relative stop out depending on your risk parameters. And if we don't break out of 470, then ultimately we're still at a 1-to-1 for a bullish trade. Makes range trading quite challenging, and it also makes the market much more cautionary for traders intraday when we are mid-range. It's just a note of expectation, a note of stepping into certain volatility parameters and be willing to accept the risk as the market has given you that opportunity at that time. Otherwise, you simply have to watch the market move without you and look for different setups, continuation of trend, obviously something like a squeeze, and then eventually sort of the exhaustion of those buyers, albeit they do have plenty of room to travel. So a bit of a note on yesterday's trading. I was disappointed in my trading yesterday. I had multiple trades where I didn't allow for the trade to mature, nor did I enter into the trades correctly for the right setup and the expectation of the move. So hopefully that doesn't affect people today or for the rest of the week, but it is worth mentioning that the market is doing this in multiple different ways. We're seeing lots of things start to spark up from the lows. People might be feeling as if they missed the perfect entry, but understand what the expectation of the setup is and try and find a way to capture some, if not the remainder, of the move itself. Okay, so as we get into the last 10 minutes, ultimately not much left to discuss. Markets are back mid-range, and therefore I'm finding it a bit more challenging to make sort of bullish to bearish sort of thesis plays in the mid-range. We might see some chop today. I would stick with stocks that are bucking the trend against the market. If the market does go a bit sort of neutral to flat today with lower volume and the fact that we are already bouncing quite heavily from yesterday, look for those stocks that have more of a directional bias. We brought up Tesla. We could also be looking at some of the other EV stocks. As long as Tesla continues to perform, we might get a bit of a sympathy bid in some of these names. And then finally, as we move into the rest of the week, just note that if you're not looking to trade aggressive for the next couple of sessions, the market may start to peter out a little bit, basically to run out of traders and the volume start to dry up. If that happens, understand that we might not have the same opportunity as we had yesterday. Yesterday was one of those moments in time where we aligned as a market in different setups at the same time and went bullish in a lot of different ways. Healthcare, financials, tech, consumer discretionaries, all of them pushing in a very correlated manner. Today, that doesn't have to happen, and the continuation does not need to occur. We might get a little bit of back and forth activity as some profits are taken and some sectors stall overall. But if you're good with that scenario, and ultimately if you can play neutral markets, it might be a bit of an advantage for some option trades for today. One thing that I like to look at, if you're an index option trader, you could start looking at some zero date to expiration condors, or something that has sort of a neutral bias for the market. Essentially playing this mid-range area and anticipating that the market is not going to move very much for the rest of the week. In this case, you'd be playing the 22 December series, and you'd be looking at maybe a $26 expected move. So you'd probably want to play about 30 points away from the current price. Additionally, you could be looking at taking some profits from yesterday's low, especially on the IWM. That recovery bounce into value might be worth considering, seeing where the market stalls. And if you've set up spreads that expand whenever the market is recovering, that of course can be a zone of interest for profit. Let's see. And then I've got one request for a stock that might be in play. Let's take a look. So we're looking at Cloudflare. Net has certainly advanced quite strongly into its all-time highs. We're seeing about a 50% pullback, and yesterday's session seeing some advancement and some value placed higher. Uh, Thor, maybe, yeah, take that picture down on YouTube. One thing I like to do for these is let me pull up a volume profile study. Whenever you get these breakouts, these looks like they're wanting to continue, you might want to ask yourself, did we accept or reject value on previous sessions? So this particular stock did advance, and it looks like a large portion of the value was placed at the highs, indicated by VPOC. So this one does look like we've broken out. We've broken out of approximately a 5-day balance area. And as we're putting value here, in order to move to the next zone, we'd probably want to pull back, retest some of these areas of interest, and then look for extension. And that can be seen on the weekly with a strong buy up candle. Buying volume here, lower volume here, just starting to break out. Optimistic target would be your swing highs. We're already at swing lows. So this is where bulls need to prove it to get into the upper range. So this one looks decent. Once again, needs to kind of buck the market trend, especially if we are choppy today. All right. So with that said, that's pretty much my time. I hope everybody's been having a wonderful short trading week so far. Tomorrow we'll talk a bit more about some things to come for next week, along with a wrap up of 2021, kind of putting everything into a little bit of a summary outlook and maybe talking about expectations for next year. So with that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. Trade safe today, and we'll talk more tomorrow.
All right, how's it going, everybody? How's everyone doing out there in YouTube and out there in out there in the chat room? How are y'all doing? Hey,
Hey,
Michael,
good
what's
morning,
up,
Thor.
Bram? Hey, Norm, what's up, brother? How was your day yesterday, Norm?
Yeah, it was fine. A little bit of trading, and then I was busy with the kids. So,
Nice, nice. What you guys been up to? Getting any of your kids are out of school, right? Probably. I know
oh
mine
yeah,
are.
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
we we
busy with
we
that.
we tried to do a little Christmas light seeing last night, and we drove out and we basically had the Florida version of snow, which is just like really cold, misty
Cocaine?
rain, right? So all of the light places decided like they weren't gonna like do lights because it was too rainy for lights.
Yeah,
I guess that's a thing. Anyway,
huh?
so
Yeah,
all right,
people are mentioning my camera. There's been some issue with the setup, and it's put me in slow mo and lagged me a lot. So it looks like I'm a ventriloquist talking when my mouth's not moving on the camera. So I've just been dark. I'll be back Monday.
yeah, Monday once Carlos is back, and for some reason that setup seems to be happy with her camera, but mine just doesn't like you. Krata, fine.
Yeah, no,
Everyone else, fine. Just Norm.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's because I'm running 60 frames per second, and it's doing something with that. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah. I spent an hour on the thing with a VMix, and they couldn't give me any good things. But let's go. So anyway, Gapper's list a little bit more manageable today. One thing we've had
I
over the
would
past couple of
I would
days.
refer to it as worthless this morning so far. Not that
uh,
that can't change, but
that's true.
there's very little I like on here.
If by manageable you mean very quick to go through, then yes. If of value, maybe not. Couple of names popping out here. Obviously, Tesla popping up. I heard that that Elon has finished selling his shares, so apparently
Well,
everyone's
at
really
least that's what he
excited.
said.
Everyone's excited about that. That or it's gotten too low. He wants the price to go back up so he can sell some more. But let's see the SPY overall. Oh, and I'm on Tesla naturally. SPY overall had a quite a nice little rally yesterday. I think we were kind of all thinking that could happen yesterday, and it certainly did. And we got some good opportunities. If anyone got into those travel stocks we were talking about, CCL, NCLH, beautiful runs out of those. Today we find ourselves basically opening right near previous day's close with very little volume. So what's going to happen today? I can't tell you right now. So we'll have to see how things open. But let's go ahead and roll over to our buddy Norm here. Get a little sense of the pulse and what's going on right now.
Yeah, we had GDP third quarter that was a little bit better than expected, 2.3 versus 2.1 estimate that just came in a moment ago. We've got consumer confidence at 10, existing home sales at 10 as well. There was another piece of data that came out a moment ago. Chicago Fed National Activity Index, nothing really uh, too interesting there. So, um, yeah, I mean, we're been essentially flat this morning after a couple of ping pong days, back and forth with big moves. So we'll see how it shakes out. I anticipate maybe some people a little concerned to hop in long this morning.
Yeah.
So we'll that's. I think there's some hesitancy of getting into the market at the moment, and we'll see how that plays out today.
Yeah, and I can imagine that too. Plus, we're only a couple of days from a long weekend and the holidays, and nobody probably wants to ruin their portfolio for Christmas. So yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of hesitancy. I think sounds exactly like what the market looks like right now. Looks hesitant.
We'll get moves. We'll definitely
Oh
get
yeah.
moves in the next week and a half. Despite yes, there are holidays and such. There's usually a lot of trading activity in this time with rebalancing and getting things done, wrapped up for the year, tax loss sales, all kinds of stuff that goes on toward the end of the year. So we'll get volume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get some stuff in here for sure. So let's take a quick peek at what we've got going on here. It is Wednesday, so despite gappers, we have other things to look forward to today. So we'll go ahead and knock through these, and then we'll pop out to the rooms and just see what everyone's liking. So right now, notably, we got Tesla. As I was kind of saying before, and Norm, kind of backed up. Elon's kind of come out and he's kind of stated, because he really likes just letting everybody know what he's up to. Has stated that he is done selling his shares. So I guess that means it's time for all of us to start buying now. I guess is what that means. I don't know. What do you think, Norm? Is that what this is?
I don't trust a word the guy says when he says that stuff. So you never know. But that aside, it was also a few minutes ago announced that the U.S. and I don't know what agency it is investigating Tesla for letting drivers play video games while they're driving. So that's not going to be good. So we'll see.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, the car is doing it anyway. I mean, why not play? I would be a little, I'd be a little spooked, like if I saw the driver playing like Grand Theft Auto at the same time, like their car is driving me around. I'd be like, I just don't know. Can you let me out here, please? Tesla here. We have BFRI, which is Biofrontera. Jared had mentioned, that pharma stocks held pretty well yesterday, mostly on the backs of the COVID stocks. But BFRI finds itself with a little volume this morning, and popping in. Had a interesting day yesterday. Can I say this? Oh, this was the one I keep talking about with all the topping tails. And then look, yesterday it broke out and then stuffed. Today I don't know. I couldn't trade this thing. What do you think, Norm? You love this one?
No.
No. Okay. Moving on. BRTX. This is Biorestorative Therapeutics. I mean, it's a low float. It's got that going for it. $6.11. No shares for short for me. So I'm probably not going to be would be looking at that one. This is Biorestorative though, so I don't know. We'll see. All right, so that was our entire.
This is a very, very low float.
Yeah, super low, ultra low.
Yeah, I mean, it's got 3 million shares on our TI. It's got less than 1 million shares in the float per FinViz. So no matter what that is, it's down there.
TI giving them a little bonus credit. Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? All right, so that was our gap up list today. So that's real exciting. All right, notable names here is Baba, but we'll save the best for last. We have ALLK, which is Alcos. I don't know what they're doing, but whatever it is, it's terrifying. What is this, Norm?
It's a biotech that had a treatment in, I believe, phase 2, phase 3 trials. That they released data on that obviously was no bueno. And,
I was gonna say
when you have a biotech with I don't think they have any drug. I could be wrong here, but from me touching on this, and I'm going to preface this with the fact that this appears to be untradeable to me, so I didn't go too deep. It appears they have no drugs on the market. They had 2, but 1 primary that were in the pipeline. And this is their main drug that was in the pipeline that failed trials, and that's what happens. That's why longer term trading in biotechs can be quite risky if you don't know what you're doing.
I mean, at one point, you got to think people were buying this thing at $150 plus. I mean, yeah, it's worth $10 now. How did that go? That's not awesome. Okay, yeah, so fair point here. Long-term investing in bio stocks with only 1 medication. Don't do that. Sounds horrible. Okay. Our buddy Adagio back on the gappers today, and that's funny. This isn't really worth paying it. Look at the daily candles on this thing. I mean, enough said. All right, SOPA. SOPA had a really big day a couple days ago. Yesterday, while we were doing our analytics, we mentioned that we probably wouldn't expect a lot out of yesterday because often after these really big aggressive ignition runs that really just normally the next day the market has to take the time to kind of figure out what it wants. So you kind of get like a little bit of a consolidation that'll happen. Notice this really high value area from the bottom of this candle now meets the top of this candle, and I find that very interesting. But the question is, do we hold here at yesterday's low, rally and break, or are we done with SOPA today and it just starts to bleed back down to why whatever reason took it to $3 in the first place? Anything interesting on SOPA there, or just doing more of this?
Just same stuff.
More of this. Okay.
So I want to. So a couple of people are mentioning mRNA and one product and what their stock's done. And like, yes, obviously, that's why I said if you don't know what you're doing, you can pick one stock out of I don't know how many thousands of little tiny biotech companies there are, and you can hit a home run on one of them, but you got to know which ones to pick. That's my entire point. Not only that, nobody could have predicted COVID happening 2 years ago either. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and plus,
you can become rich on them, but it's much easier to go completely broke on them.
Well, let's. So Peter's bringing up my point. So I was about to say mRNA was trading at almost $500. Now it's trading at $250. So if you were buying mRNA at $450, you made a very poor decision, right, on this stock. So although mRNA is at $250, that only helped you if you bought it pre-pandemic. If you bought MRNA in August after things really got going, right, you've made no money on mRNA. Actually, you're probably negative in that portfolio. So it can still be overvalued in this case. And let's think about this. What happens if mRNA comes out tomorrow and says, we just found out that our primary COVID vaccine causes some kind of major illness, right? Or like a heart defect or something like that. MRNA is a $10 stock, right? It's gone. It has no value anymore. So, and that's because it has one thing that it's hinging its entire mechanism on. So get a quick pop out of it? I agree, but I'm with Norm 100% on this one. These things are super volatile for long-term holds.
Yeah, you got to be really careful on those. So anyway.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Baba. Baba has been continuing to be this new Baba, which has been very unfun. I really enjoyed trading Baba for a little while, but ever since the D-list stuff hit, Baba just seems to have dwindled. Plus with, I think a lot of the holding up and all that. But today we still continue to get very tight consolidation on what I would consider to be relatively low volume for Baba. I would have trouble really getting a good trade plan together on this one with the way it's been trading lately.
And they've got more negative headlines on regulations. Somebody just posted the headline news on that as China regulators suspend Alibaba cloud partnership. So I don't know how one invests in this. Trade it, but these are.
That's
rough.
Actually the first notable catalyst that I think I've heard today that's worth it. But even with Baba, I just don't know if that even gets Baba onto the list because it's just been trading so poorly.
The daily, it's right. It looks like it could be trying to break down after that pop. That's the only thing that's got it on my radar. I hate trading Baba. So
yeah. All right. Let's see. BB, if BlackBerry's got anything going on. Volume says no. Find ourselves chopping this long range again. I mean, can you guys tell that we've been in a choppy market the past month or what? I mean, it's just half of what we look at are just kangarooing up and down. Anything notable on BB here, Norm? And then maybe
I think they had earnings, but I hate
stuff.
this ticker, so it just doesn't move. I mean, it's I know this is a meme stock, and they get it going every once in a while, but it's. I can't get on board.
Short float on TI is only 6.5%, so this doesn't seem like something even WB would be that overly interested in anymore with that kind of low short float unless TI's off. But so anyway, well, we'll have to keep an eye on BB just to see if anything comes into it. But I do carry shares for short on it, but I wouldn't short this thing at $9 the way it's been holding these low areas. I just don't think there's any downside. So unless volume comes in and starts ripping upwards, I'm probably not even interested in this one either. All right. So let's do this. We have a few minutes, I think, before we can get going. What do you want to do, Norm? You want to grab a couple more tickers, or do you want to knock out community events before Kreda gets here?
Let's do announcements. That's fine.
Okay. All
We
right.
can get through
Let's.
that. They're not
Let me
too
get that.
exciting this week anyway.
All right. Let's cut that over. All right, buddy. All yours.
All right. Eamon's trend trading webinar was a mistake, it seems. There was some movement, and that got scheduled. So you got a little Q&A with John last night. Anyway, next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we do have Artie. He'll be talking about hedging strategies, so that should be interesting. We have not done one on that topic. Should be awesome. I know Jared touches on it occasionally. I don't think he's ever done an actual full webinar on it, though. Tonight, 5 p.m., speaking of Kreda, you've got her talking about taking the pain out of trading, part 2, assessing impact, FOMO, and overtrading. Something we can all benefit from. I know that. And then next week, just kind of a fun webinar on psychology Wednesday. That'll be 8 p.m. Since that's kind of late in the evening, I anticipate some people that might pre-drink for that, but it's going to be a Zoom meetup.
Sounds fun.
It says after the close. We'll have to check on the time of that. I don't know. The actual thing says 8 p.m., but I'm guessing that's going to get earlier. But now I'm going to, never mind. Just a reminder, any donations this month, any super chats or anything are going to Shriners Children's Hospital. Don't forget about our free web-based simulator application. You can go to stocktradingsimulator.com. While you're there, also sign up for Eamon and Simon's homework assignments that they email out about twice a week. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't been in the chat, you'd like to give it a try, go to bearbulltraders.com, scroll down about halfway down the page. You will see that test drive now button. Click it, enter your info. You'll be billed one time. If you use the promo code premarket24, it'll discount that. It is a 7 calendar day, 5 trading day trial, unless, of course, there is a holiday like this Friday when the markets close. We will not be here. But it will not bill you again. It does not recur or anything. Also, if you'd like to become an elite member and gain access to all of the webinar content that I just described, you can use the promo code HOLIDAYS40 and get 40% off the elite annual membership.
Awesome. Thanks, Norm.
All right.
That.
So let me.
We got her here.
Let me. The webinars are all jacked up. I don't know what's going on, but whoever's given the schedule is completely incorrect. I'm getting pinged all over the place by my fellow mods that the meetup is not taking place. Don't know where that came from. Jared's gap trading strategy webinar, I guess, is replacing the psychology next week. So who knows? Nobody. Anyway.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
All right, brother. We got the good doctor here. I'm gonna go ahead and bring her on for you. So I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, today's a mess. I hope she can fix it.
Yeah. Oh, she will. All right, she's on.
Kreda, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Norma. Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. The pre-market show not so great this morning. I am hoping that you can save us. So I'm going to throw it your way.
Well, if I can't deal with pressure as a performance psychologist, then I shouldn't be doing my job. So
Good point.
I'll see what I can do. So today we're picking up on the theme from Monday, which was, reviewing your trading year and planning for 2022. And we talked about a few practical ways to approach that. So we're keeping with that theme, but we're talking about this from the personal perspective today. So Wisdom Wednesdays, talking about the person, not the performer. But there is a link between the two. So actually, your personal well-being and your happiness has a direct impact on your trading performance. And I'm sure a lot of people are already thinking of maybe New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions for their personal life or for themselves as opposed to just their trading. And I want to speak to about how you can actually be really efficient and strategic about that so that you can actually, again, set yourself up for success in achieving your personal goals. But first, I just want to talk about the link between your well-being, self-care, and your trading performance. And this is actually one of my bugbears, because working in performance psychology, the personal well-being side of things is so important. If you think of performance like a pyramid, then well-being and all our self-care, kind of, looking after our hydration, nutrition, etc., that's all at the bottom of the pyramid. They're the fundamental building blocks that everything else stands upon. So there's no point working on your confidence as a trader if you're only getting 3 hours sleep a night, because your sleep would be the most important thing to fix in that situation. But when we're talking about the idea of personal well-being and self-care, we're not just talking about the physical aspects of that, so the sleep, the food, making sure you're hydrated. We're also talking about how fulfilled you feel. Whether you feel like you're contributing to a greater good than yourself, so feeling like you have meaning and purpose. These are all known to be really important factors in determining your overall level of personal well-being. And the idea is that actually these are things, even though they seem fluffy, they're important to take care of them if you are trying to increase your performance, even in a domain such as trading or, say, high-performance sport, where it seems to be quite removed from that. And this is something that it's a bugbear for me, because a lot of companies tick the box in terms of running well-being programs for their employees, and they see it as something that will attract talent and keep people happy to work in the company. But they miss the idea that actually you can track performance metrics linked with how satisfied people feel with their lives and how happy they are in themselves. And this, I feel, is missing. So we're going to talk about it from the trading perspective and how you can actually apply this approach for yourself in 2022 in order to both get better trading results and also to just generally lift your happiness, feel more fulfilled, and feel like you have more meaning and purpose. So how do we go about that? It's the same systematic approach as we take to applying trading psychology to your trading performance. We talk about isolating the most important thing to work on, kind of parking the rest of it. Even if there's 10 things you want to improve, you have to focus on one key thing and do that really well. And so I'm going to suggest that if you want to set New Year's resolutions around improving something in your personal life or in terms of your well-being, your life satisfaction, then choose one thing. So maybe make a list of all of the things you'd love to improve, but then isolate the one thing that would make the absolute biggest difference to your happiness, to your level of self-care, looking after yourself, reducing burnout, all of those things, whatever's relevant to you. Find the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference. And so for somebody, that could be something around, let's say someone has a target of losing weight or getting more fit. And it might be that actually, let's say it's an exercise one. If you get more fit, you're going to have more energy. You're going to feel really confident in yourself. And this is a goal that you've been maybe setting and failing every year. So if you decide that that's the biggest thing that would make you happy, give you a sense of satisfaction and confidence, and would make the biggest difference to you in terms of how you feel about yourself, then just focus on that and get really specific. So again, we're going to talk about using process and performance and outcome goals, but linked with your personal well-being and your personal goals. So I just want to give another example of what that could look like. So instead of an exercise one, let's say that in 2021, you were feeling very burned out, overwhelmed, you were trying to do all of the things, and you just find that you're running around from doing one task to the next and there's not enough time for yourself. So maybe your time management and being really efficient with your time in 2022 is going to make the biggest difference. And you could see how if you worked on these things that are really important for your personal well-being, you could actually lift your trading performance. So with the example of maybe if you're overwhelmed trying to do all the different things, if you streamline the tasks that you take on, you get really ruthless and efficient about how you spend your time. That's going to help you to focus more when you're trading, so you won't be so distracted by all of the other things that are going on or what you have to do later. You're going to feel under less pressure. So automatically, if you're not under pressure from things outside of trading, then you can withstand more pressure when you're in the market. So you can see how by working on those things, you would actually improve your trading performance. And so when we're talking about how would you use process, performance, and outcome goals in terms of your personal well-being, so the outcome goals are maybe not as relevant here. So let's talk about the process and performance. So let's say it's a losing weight goal. You could set a performance goal of maybe going to the gym and lifting, like increasing the weights that you're lifting every week by X amount. So that would be a performance goal. Maybe if it was, let's see, and maybe a swimming goal, you're in a swimming pool and you're increasing the amount of lengths that you swim in a 45-minute period. So they're very concrete, specific goals related to your exercise that would either help you increase your fitness or contribute towards you losing weight, whatever your personal goal is. And then if you talk about process goals in that perspective, a process goal there would be actually turning up to the swimming pool 4 times a week, say, or let's make it a realistic goal. So if you're starting from scratch and swimming is something that you want to get into, maybe you're setting a process goal just to turn up 2 to 3 times a week. So you can apply the same goal setting framework that you use in trading, or that we talk about using in your trading performance. So where you're setting process goals of listening to affirmations each day before you trade, you're setting performance goals to only take your A+ setups, or have 90% of all the trades that you take fitting your A+ setup. So we use that paradigm in trading, but we can apply it to the goals that you're setting for yourself and your New Year's resolutions. So just to consolidate that down into a couple of points, your personal well-being and your happiness, how you feel about yourself and how well you are in yourself mentally, emotionally, physically and spiritually, is going to impact your trading performance. Get ruthless about focusing on one thing that you're going to improve in 2022. The thing that's going to bring you the most benefit across the board, if you can just address that one thing and improve it by, let's say, 10%. And once you've isolated that goal, then approach it forensically and run that goal, or that area that you want to improve, through the paradigm of process, performance and outcome goals, and then start tracking. So even though it seems like a very robotic way to approach improving something in your personal well-being or something on the emotional side of things, it is a system that works, and it will bring you benefits not only to your own happiness but also to your trading performance.
Sorry for the delay. I was muted, and you single-handedly saved the show. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Owe you a debt of gratitude. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas break. We'll see you Monday. And also, you want to real quick speak about the link you sent me earlier, because I'm going to post it in the room in just a moment here.
Sure. Awesome. So yes, I promised last week that I would put out a little holiday gift for people. So I've created an affirmation resource. So it's an audio script that you would listen to. You can use it to build your own one if you want, but I've posted it on my YouTube account. So it's Creda Performance if you want to search that. But I've also pinned it at the top of my Twitter account, because I think more people probably follow me there, and you're going to share the link. So this is about a 15 minute audio that traders can use as part of your pre-trading routine if you want. And it's literally affirmations that it's my voice speaking it, but you just listen to it, and then you would repeat the affirmations in your head or out loud after I'm saying them in the script. And you listen to that ongoing, so at least 21 days, and you should see differences in your trading performance. And just to say, I've created that off the back of doing this, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of times with people. And I've tried to target affirmations that get at most of the common sort of subconscious blocks behind people's trading challenges. So even though it might seem like a simple script, there's a lot of back thought in it. So it should be an effective one. So I'd love to hear how people get on, but feel free to listen to it as much as you like and share it with whoever might benefit.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I just posted that up in the notifications at the top, so it'll be there all day, guys. You can check that out. And thank you, Creda. Have a great day.
Great. Thanks, Norm. Have lovely holidays. Bye.
Man, thank goodness for her, huh? She totally bailed our Out of Sorts pre-market show going out. And I tell you what, I learned something from her every single time, and it correlates to things that I've done in my life so well, and it's really awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and get ourselves back over to the gappers list, see if there's anything interesting has popped up there, and then we'll get into the rooms and start getting some stocks from everybody to look at, because this gappers list is not massive. or overly beneficial at the moment. So let's see what we can find though. So Tesla still on the gap up, still hasn't moved a whole lot really since it kind of got up to this, what was set like 978, came back down to VWAP, and basically since 8 o'clock has just been kind of chopping here. So that's going to make Tesla a little bit difficult to figure out exactly what we think it's going to do today. Right now it's kind of sitting in a fairly bullish posture, but with selling stacking to the top side. So, it does look like we've got some bulls involved. But liquidity building towards like 960 and to the lower sides as well. So Tesla may actually open weak, do a general pullback on this gap, and then rally. Could sit up here and stall and then fail. So we'll have to keep an eye on Tesla, but we're going to need some volume on this thing before we can make some better decisions. Notably on the other side, we got Baba. Baba we talked about before has just been trading horribly. So let's go ahead and cue me up some tickers, people. What do you guys want to look at? Anything noticeable out there? So while that's happening, I wanted to show you guys the cruise lines. We had CCL and NCLH both dialed in yesterday and got some great moves out of these. I'll show you a 15-minute chart. Both of them had really beautiful opening range moves that really pushed up, chopped out the back half of the day, which isn't unusual. We got really nice opening moves on those. And remember, we were kind of looking at that. Other good call we had was actually on PFE. PFE, we kind of saw this indecision here and we're expecting a sell down. We called R3 and look at that, to the penny came down and this thing hit R3. So we really liked that. Today we find ourselves a little indecisive in the midday. Could just be choppy today. So, all right, let's go here. I'm going to go ahead and burn this list real quick. Let me clear this out, and then let's get some new stuff. Let's see what everyone's, now that we've gone through the gappers, let's see what everyone's just really liking, and we'll just hit some tickers. All right, KMX, huh? Okay. I typed KMX, but KMX would be better. That's CarMax's ticker, right? Yeah, it's CarMax.
Yeah, CarMax has earnings, but it trades horrifically, and it's got no volume this morning.
All right, so no volume earnings, no bueno. But we will secondary this guy since it at least has some earnings. Maybe some volume will come in on it. Let's see. I'm going to the room right now. We have AMD, LCID, naturally, Apple, naturally. AMD, LCID. What you got for me, YouTube? Apple, PayPal. I like PayPal. Let's look at PayPal. PYPL. All right. What else we got? You want to look? We already checked out NVIDIA. We can put NVIDIA there. Okay, that gives us a couple to look at. We'll start there. All right, AMD. So AMD bounced with tech. We were kind of talking about this yesterday, that we were in this extreme low area. Now, if you're using the Warshock test here, you can kind of see almost like a little bit of an inverse kind of head and shoulders starting to set up here. We've had this low. We've pushed up. We've made this attempt for a new low that was rejected, and then we bought up on volume, low volume pullback, now a volume push again. AMD actually kind of giving some signals that it liked this respect of S4. Maybe it's time. S4, the good thing about rejecting S4 is, we can have an extreme reversal from here, so we'd be looking for a move, back up towards 170 if that's the case. So we can really be looking at, I'd really like to be looking at a previous day's close on AMD for sure as something to look for breakout. Right now, AMD pivot-wise is opening up in the center of the pivot range, so I won't like it for an opening trade unless it moves around a little bit. It would be really nice to kind of maybe see it sell off a little bit back to S3, then get its run going so I can get a proper RVR on it. But we'll have to pay attention to it and see what it does. But like I said, I think pre-market high, PDC, both sitting right here. The yesterday's high, I think this 144.20 to 144.50 area is going to be really, really significant to keep an eye on. Let's look at LCID. If it loads. LSID's sitting right on previous day's close. LSID, I've been talking about this for the past couple of days, y'all. Unfortunately, with LSID, it's just not a good stock to trade these days. Look at these candles and how small, even the best candles, right, that you're getting are incredibly small. But even the past couple of days, smaller and smaller still. Now, if our volume was elevating, I would almost read this as compression, right? Because it's getting so tight. And maybe we get a little bit of that here. So if you want to watch LSID, maybe look to see, if, we kind of have this collapsing like wedge here going on. Maybe if it breaks this wedge in one way or another, maybe, right? But I just feel like that's a whole lot of maybe. But still, just a whole lot of that. So we'll have to see what happens with LSID. Secondary list at best, but it may just not be, it may be better to stay away from stocks like this and wait till it has a big day, right? And then I know you'll feel like you missed it because it had a big day, but it having a big day will tell you that there are likely more big days to come. But having small days kind of tells you there's more likely small days to come. Right, so you don't want to just kind of assume, hey, wow, we're in a narrow range, so now I'm expecting this thing to run. No, it can do this every day, right? It could just be a junk stock now, and we'll have to keep an eye on LSID. It may just not be something that we trade anymore, which is sad. Every now and again, we fall in love with certain tickers because they become really fun to play for 2 months at a time or 3 months at a time. But then you just kind of get rid of them when they're not in play anymore. And maybe someday they'll be in play again. Exactly. It'll be back, but
Just taking a breather.
it's like, it's our friend. It's our good buddy. It's like CCL. I played CCL yesterday and I almost shed a tear because my good buddy was back. Jared, if you love it, you gotta let it go. All right. Apple. So Apple kind of bought up with tech as well. Apple moving back towards R4. I don't like Apple's posture as much as maybe AMD's looked. But, it's in an interesting range. The thing, again, I don't like is we're in this central area on Apple. So for me to even consider it, I would need it to sell or buy a little bit first. I hate buying at value or selling at value. So I'll have to let it do something. But right now, sitting right at previous day's close. So, maybe if we open strong, bust previous day's close, maybe we get a little rally. That could be fun. PayPal, no volume in the pre-market. Okay day yesterday. Nice buy up on indecision. Today broke up. See, and this is more of what I talk about. So PayPal, notice PayPal, its average days, look how much longer, right? It has long days, right? So it moves around. Might be a hard stock to trade often, which it is. But so you have this really narrow day. Now today you can almost think, or on this next day, you can almost think maybe we get a run today, right? Because we had this really narrow compressed day, maybe something happens, right? Because we normally have bigger days, we can kind of think about things like that. But on LSID right now, it's just small days. We need bigger days so that we know that there's a potential for more of them. NVIDIA had a couple of good days where it played really well and then has spent the past few days not really sure what it wants to do about that. So S4 seems to be holding as the line in the sand on this one, 275. Certainly previous day's close on this one, again, probably going to come into play. We've got a lot of levels right here, pre-market high, previous day's close, previous day's high. Right, so if we can break through, set on top of these levels and launch off of 292, I think a run for 300 is certainly possible. But be careful. A rejection of VWAP and a loss of pre-market low probably sends us back down to test S4. So we'll have to be careful on this. And again, we're low volume, so we do have this interesting candle here, which I'm not really sure what condition that formed under, but still 46,000 shares. In a very narrow spread, so we'll have to see how that goes. All right. So far, I'm not seeing anything that's really jumping out at me. How about Norm? Is anything for you yet? Like kind of like starting to pop out, or yeah, you're kind of
pretty slow.
YouTube's saying look at SEAC. So SEAC.
They got halted on news earlier.
SEC has been
just
halted.
got halted again.
Yep. So this one is halted.
It's a penny stock. I mean, this is
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah, exactly. So I was gonna say, so a couple of things against us. One, we're halted on this one. Number two, penny stock, right? Floats 39 million, but the thing is super tiny. And this is the one thing I want you to look at when you're looking at these stocks. This kind of price action here should be concerning to you. To see these narrow, like blocky areas, these are either halts or areas of zero
The fact
volume.
that it's $1.75 and
That should bother you, right? But any
that should be
stock
a
where you're seeing
problem.
this kind of this is like computer action algos, it's not a good spot to be. So I would recommend sticking away from this one. It's a bank
I don't
buster.
care what the news. I don't care what the news is. It's a penny stock.
It's a merger with Triller.
All right,
Bro. Yeah, so Catalyst is good, right? We do like Catalyst, but there are certain catalysts that we are less enthusiastic about. But then more specifically, there's certain types of stocks that we focus on because of the potential for risk management, right? So it's not that you can't have some massive crazy day on SEAC, but what we're about is building consistent profit generation from day to day to day, right? Not necessarily just hitting a home run once or twice a year. But I get what you're saying, Les. It's just not going to be. It wouldn't be a stock that I would be able to easily manage my risk on. I would have trouble picking levels to stop out if the trade doesn't work, and I'd have trouble picking levels to take profit at if it does work. Also, super low price. So for me to make money on it, I would have to take an immense amount of shares, right? I'd have to take, 5,000, 6,000 shares of this thing to try and make money on it. My comms on that are going to be like $50, right? I can go trade $120 stock. My comms will be $9, right? So there's just, there's something you got to kind of do it on. But anyway, Les, we're going to move on, find some more stuffs, brother. But hey, if you like it, give it a good trade on it. And if you nail it, tag me on Twitter, man. Tell me you told me so. I don't mind. Give me the good action. But I love it. Appreciate the participation, though, brother. All right, so let's pop on to some other stuff. MU, and then I want to look at CCL, NCLH, and MU. CCL had a beautiful move yesterday. Really nice push, really nice volume behind it. Got itself above VWAP. I'd love to see maybe a retest of $20, see if it holds. So I'm going to be watching CCL for sure today. It'll be one of the few things that are on my list. NCLH's volume generically doesn't come in as well, but it did do the same nice move, but not quite as well as CCL did it. But these are going to be two tickers I'll probably keep on and see if they come in for me. Let's check out MU. MU was earnings yesterday, right, Norm? So maybe we get another play out of this one.
Or 2 days ago.
Or 2 days ago. So because we got this really big gap
after close 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, there you go. So we had the big gap and everything moved up. Had to put in a really strong hammer today. So let's keep an eye on MU. If it could chop here. Remember kind of how we said which one was it? I think it was SOPA. Yeah. Notice SOPA big day, and then the next day it consolidated. Today we don't really know what it's going on. So MU, you got to keep that in mind. We had this big gap, big candle. If the market bounces today and keeps a bullish sentiment, I think MU could break and try and run. If the market fails, this thing could just easily fill this gap. So we're going to have to be really, really careful on MU. Right now, we don't have enough volume coming in on MU to really start making any educated guesses, if you will, in which way we expect this to go. But there's plenty of liquidity to the downside. So this thing could easily sell yesterday's candle very easily. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, I agree, actually. Jimmy, MU is at a nice psychological number. $90, it is nice. So we'll have to keep that out. So what else we got here? We got about 1 minute. Let's go ahead and pop over and grab some moderators lists, see what they're looking at, see if maybe I find some tickers that'll surprise me here.
So Brian, I want to mention something real quick because Brian B just posted. Got to feel short's going to cover some ALLK at the open. Guys, be super, super careful with that ticker. It's had a wild move. I don't know that there's any shorts in it. It only had a 3% short float as of the last reporting date, which would have been the last day of November. So I don't anticipate it's much different than that. I mean, it doesn't look like there's been a whole lot. That move was all in a gap based on news. So it essentially, there wasn't a chance for people to get short in it up in those really high ranges for the most part. Just be careful on it. I won't be touching it, but that's just me.
Yeah, DOS right now is only giving me 150K shortable, which that'll get eaten up really fast if that's a thing. So, but on SSR, that's gonna be really tricky. So good, wise words there, Norm. I agree 100%. This is look at this one, man. $100 stock, $10. That just terrifies me. All right, I don't like it. All right, so let's hit these moderator lists here. First we've got Jared coming in. Jared's engineering the markets this morning was really awesome. I've really been enjoying that lately. With doing the pre-market show, I've been watching the engineering the markets more directly, and it's just been like really beneficial. I'm gonna have to make that an everyday thing. Tesla and EVs, he's going to be watching for sympathy. He's also keeping an eye on BB and the travel stocks. I like travel stocks. So secondary NAKD for some fun. Sure, sounds like it. IPOs NXGL from Peter, SPACs GDNRU. Peter's watching AMD, Apple, and LSID. I like it. AMD and Apple for sure. AMD, Tesla, and NVIDIA for Tiffany. Dima coming in with Apple and AMD. So Anton, I wasn't aware of NAKD's acquisition. Maybe that's why Jared's taking an eye on it. I personally,
there was an acquisition. They had a reverse split, a 15-to-1 reverse split.
Reverse split. Okay, so that would explain why I wasn't aware of it. So they did have a reverse split. So there, I wouldn't really know how to tell you to play a reverse split, to be honest, especially on a stock that's $6 and gapping down. So I'm not really sure how to evaluate this.
This one, I didn't really look into this because this has been a penny stock, and then all this stuff has taken place in the last couple of days. It's traded at like 50-60 cents for the longest period of time. Now they've got a 15-to-1 reverse, and acquisition is something else involved in that. So who knows?
I like
something.
I like Brian L's comment in here. I told him I didn't know how to play it, and he commented with don't.
Yeah.
So and then Chris MC backs up with 100%. So I like it. Room always keeping me in a good spot.
Or hey, it's not up 1,000%. It's a reverse split. You don't go up anything on a reverse split. The price changes, you have less shares.
Yeah, I mean, if it's up anything, it'd be up from like a year ago or something. But right now, it's not up anything. That's for sure. All right, let's see here. I think we got all of our watch lists out there. For me, everyone, I'm going to be focused on, like Jared, I think I'm going to watch travel sector. So I'm going to be watching CCL and NCLH to see if there's anything continued there. And then I'm going to keep an eye on tech, AMD, MU, and likely Apple. And that should be enough tickers to give me an opportunity today. Simon just came in, Apple, AMD, and Roblox, RBLX, also rolling in there. Something interesting going on. So, all right, everybody. Well, it is about 9:20, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've got one more day tomorrow of the pre-market show, and then Friday we're going to be shut down for the holidays. Really appreciate everyone hanging out with us. For anyone in the chat room, don't forget we've got Creda's affirmations link that's been posted up. It's up above the watch list now. But she put together, for anyone who wasn't here for her part, there's a link up there now for really cool affirmations for you to listen to and help you with your day. So make sure you get in and get those. Everybody out there in YouTube land, thanks for hanging out. If you've got an opportunity, throw us that thumbs up. I appreciate it. Like and subscribe, everyone. Thanks. Norm, brother, thanks for hanging out, man.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Trade safe.
Have a good one.